I instantly fell in love in agriculture. It's such a beautiful art that people don't necessarily recognize. It's absolutely essential to sustaining our lives. If you think about it, food is obviously what we need to eat every day, but also it's the medicine that we consume. It's the clothes that we wear, how wood is used to build our houses. It goes beyond just a plate of food. Agriculture essentially fuels our lives.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Aiken and I manage career services at the Department of Management Science and Engineering at Stanford University. Welcome to MS&E Stories and Voices, Graduating Student Profiles. The MS&E knowledge and skill sets are a favorite amongst recruiters into finance, consulting, product management, and technology, which are what I would call our Big Four career paths. But they're equally applicable across a wide range of career paths. So I'm thrilled today to be talking with Lauryn Franzese, whose passion is in agriculture and all the ways that touches our lives. We're going to explore how she's been using her MS&E experience in this crucial industry area, and cheesy pun very much intended, how she'll be continuing to grow now that she's wrapping up her bachelor's degree. Lauryn, thank you so much for being here. Let's start with an overview of your background and how you came to be at Stanford.
Lindsay, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here today. And I'm so excited to be able to share my story. Hello, everyone. My name is Lauryn Franzese, and I was born and raised in California's Central Valley, in the heart of it, called Livingston. It's a small farm town where everyone has each other's back. It feels more like a big family rather than a community, which I absolutely love. It's 2 hours away from here, so not too far. But yeah, I visited campus for the very first time at 10 years old, and I instantly fell in love with it. And I told my mom at 10, this is where I'm coming to school. And she looked at me with disbelief because she knew the acceptance rates and I did it as a 10-year-old. But she was like, sure, honey, whatever. Like, I'll support you, whatever you choose. Very proud to say I made that dream come true. And here I am today. I started Stanford back in 2021.
Thinking about the Central Valley, my husband's actually from down there, so I'm familiar with some of these small farm towns. And what I found down there is a lot of people feel like Stanford is not really for them. You know, that's for the Silicon Valley type people, not the Central Valley type people, which isn't the case. We love a diversity of everything here, and Stanford's for everyone. I mean, we're known as the farm. So how was that transition coming from that kind of a community into Stanford, the heart of the Silicon Valley here?
I'd be lying to you if I told you it was easy, but it was such a rewarding experience. I was the first kid in 16 years to come to Stanford from my high school. It's a very big accomplishment that I'm very proud of. I feel very fortunate to be able to represent my community. So it's very difficult in a sense of, unlike other students who've had high school alumni they can lean on, or siblings, or whoever it might be. I didn't necessarily have that. I'm the first in my family to go to an elite sort of college. So it was quite a shock when I got here, a culture shock. And I definitely didn't really have anyone to lean on in that sense of, okay, like the school is more rigorous. How do I navigate this process? I think I gained a lot of really great values from my family. My mom is one of 6, and she's the first person in her family to go to college. She's absolutely incredible. Got 2 bachelors. She did her MBA. Incredible lady. So she was very encouraging of me, even though I don't look like the traditional applicant. She always pushed me, encouraged me, and reassured me.
It was so sweet at commencement this past Sunday, talking to your mom and just how proud she very rightly is of you.
I didn't have as strong as an educational background as a lot of other applicants. Being from a farm town, we didn't have the best access to a lot of resources. Although I was able to take a few APs and some community college classes, it still did not fully prepare me for what Stanford really was. It truly is a rigorous school, which is great. It's great to be challenged because that's how you grow. In terms of the support system, I do feel very fortunate that I was able to find such a great support system here on campus. Similar to my hometown, I always choose to see the good in people, and people do the same back home where we're all supporting each other. I think when I thought of Stanford, I always thought it was going to be very cutthroat, but I was really surprised to learn that the school is not as cutthroat as you might initially think. People are always willing to help each other out, especially in the MS&E department. I absolutely love the department. Everybody's always willing to help each other out. It's like the night before a final, it's midnight, 1 a.m. We're all on a Zoom call or we're meeting at the library and we're figuring out all the problems together. And I think that definitely eases the transition because you have people who believe in you and people who are willing to assist you when you don't necessarily believe in yourself, others will. And I think that's something that's really beautiful about our department. Also, should mention, I definitely try to take advantage of Stanford's resources. So office hours, CTL is a great resource on campus, anything to try to close that gap. And I'm very happy to say I would like to believe that I caught up. Not an easy transition, but with a great support system and using resources available to you on campus for free.
Yeah, I
So
know we're
helpful.
so lucky with everything
So lucky.
that we've got available. So you get here, you get settled in. We have that imposter syndrome, which I like to call imposter phenomenon instead, because with that support, it's temporary and will pass. You really started to thrive. Talk about once you've settled in, how things went for you then.
So when I first came to campus, I was going to be pre-med, as many other freshmen are.
Yeah.
I mean, when you come to a school like this, like, why not try? And I've always been a very people and impact-driven person. It's always been a deep passion of mine to help others in any way I can. So I always thought pre-med was the way for me. Freshman and sophomore year, I was actually a bioengineering major. I later come to realize, like halfway through sophomore year, that, this isn't right for me, and that's totally okay. And I remember, I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So I decided, just like any other freshman or sophomore, to just take a bunch of different classes and see what I liked. I took some in international relations, economics, MS&E, pretty much anything you can name, I probably did. And I loved my MS&E classes. That quarter specifically, I took MS&E 152, which is Introduction to Decision Analysis. And then I took Accounting for Managers and Entrepreneurs. Absolutely loved these classes. I felt like I met so many great people and the community was absolutely incredible. But also I loved the coursework. I felt challenged, but in a way where I could apply it into the real world and make an impact, which I thought was incredible. And honestly, just everyone I ever met in the department was so incredible. So I knew in my heart that MS&E was right for me because also I didn't have to sacrifice anything to be an MS&E major. So yeah, I kind of chose MS&E because back in the day, in high school, I was heavily involved in Future Farmers of America, so the FFA for short, and I used to compete in agricultural business. I loved it. It was so much fun. And when I declared MS&E, I know that I wanted to do something I was passionate about. And I recalled all my days in agriculture back in high school. And I was like, you know what? I can combine what I love and helping others in a different way. Medicine isn't the only way to help people. I can combine agriculture with this MS&E skill set. And I even started exploring it then that quarter of my sophomore year.
I'm so intrigued by this interest that you have in agriculture. We have what I call our big four career areas: finance, consulting, product management, and big tech. But hearing someone talk about agriculture is definitely more unusual. And I know it's this big passion. Talk a little bit more about that background and then also how you integrated it into your MS&E experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more than happy to talk about agriculture any time of the week. So as I mentioned, back in high school, I really done anything and everything under the sun of agriculture. Like I used to raise livestock. I managed a greenhouse. I judged milk quality. Anything you could think of related to agriculture, I probably did. So I instantly fell in love in agriculture. I think it's such a beautiful art that people don't necessarily recognize. It's absolutely essential to sustaining our lives. If you think about it, food is obviously what we need to eat every day, but also it's the medicine that we consume. It's the clothes that we wear. It goes beyond just a plate of food. It even goes to like forestry, how wood is used to build our houses. Horticulture, you might not think about it, but when you pass those cute gardens or when you go to botanical gardens, that goes back to agriculture. Agriculture essentially fuels our lives. In high school, I learned traditional agricultural methods such as farming, raising livestock, and something that I didn't really learn in my hometown was the impacts of agriculture in terms of like CO2 emissions and how food insecurity is across the world. Like, I guess these bigger problems weren't necessarily taught. I was just taught essentially how to be a farmer. So coming into Stanford, I took different courses such as rethinking meat, engineering, entrepreneurship, and climate change. I then began to realize that there is a big problem in agriculture that isn't being addressed. Actually, there's many. How are we going to feed the growing population before 2050?
Yeah.
How are we going to reduce CO2 emissions within the agricultural industry? These are just two of the major questions that interest me, but there's so many key areas that we can focus on within agriculture in itself. And I think something that really stood out to me about agriculture is you can do so much in it. And you don't have to just be a farmer to be in agriculture. You can do IT, finance, whatever it might be, and you can still help support our food systems and obviously agriculture that runs our world. And I think I realized that there was a lot of issues that I wanted to begin solving. Something I love and I'm able to do is with MS&E. I can apply the problem solving skills that I've learned and the optimization and everything else in between into this field and learn how can we actually feed the growing population? Well, we need to optimize our food systems. How can we reduce our CO2 emissions? We have to minimize it, but how? And MS&E has truly given me the skill set to answer this question. It's definitely a place where I've learned I can be myself. And something that shocked me is people are actually willing to listen to my story about agriculture. So when you think of Stanford, it's probably not your traditional agricultural school. It doesn't change the fact that everyone here is very supportive and will give you the skill set to make necessary changes and positive improvements within that field.
Absolutely. The exciting thing is that there is so much potential
Yes.
for changing and improving things. Oftentimes we think of agriculture as very traditional, but there's a lot of interest in that world to make changes, to improve things, to become more sustainable, to become more efficient, to think about all of these different things. And the MS&E skill set, as you say,
Yeah.
lending itself so much to problem solving can absolutely be adapted and used for these problems. It's just a different application.
Yeah, I guess speaking of to kind of answer your second question as well of how it's been used in MS&E, at least for me personally, as I mentioned back in MS&E Work 52, even when I started exploring MS&E, a project that my group and I did was using decision analysis frameworks. We made a decision of whether or not a farmer should plant a certain type of crop. Agriculture is a cyclical business, which means it's dependent on external factors. So like weather, rainfall, there's a lot of small factors that impact the food that we grow. So it was really cool being able to make this giant decision tree. And it was so incredible. And it's something that I was able to do with my team. And it was such a fun experience. I think that made me realize that I can find my passion of agriculture. I think MS&E has given me that skill set to be able to apply whatever techniques I need into agriculture.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the few examples.
A lot of our classes are very project-based. I have to mention here too that Lauryn was a member of our senior project winning team this year. So again, congratulations. And that project, being energy, doesn't immediately seem ag-related, and yet it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much again. It still hasn't hit. I don't know if it ever will, but I'm incredibly honored. So in case you don't know how it works, we get a giant project list and you could try to pair with clients. Instantly, the city of Palo Alto stood out for us. For me, energy is something that I feel goes hand in hand with agriculture. How are these tractors going to move? And facing very similar issues of CO2 emissions. And the energy sector also produces a lot, just like agriculture, like electric tractors. So random, guess you wouldn't really think of it, but that even helps reduces like CO2 in agriculture. And it's interesting seeing how energy plays a role in that.
Yeah.
It's interesting how these industries actually come hand in hand to support one another and moving towards a positive direction that's cleaner for our world and obviously better for us as humans. So yeah, we knew instantly that we wanted to do this energy project. And I'm so glad we did. I learned so much. Our mentor, Phil, was the absolute best. Big shout out to our team, Ela, Val, and Solmi. It's just so incredible. We've been working together for such a long time. It's really sweet to close out the chapter, especially on a good note. But yeah, a lot of the frameworks that I've used for agricultural projects were able to apply to the energy sector. And I think that just goes to show how MS&E allows you to do anything. It doesn't just have to be consulting or finance. You can apply this into any industry and make a positive impact wherever you choose to go.
Yeah. All of this agricultural interest that you've got here, and I know that you're planning on taking this as your future career path. Can you talk a little about where that career path is going and how that ties in with your values, which I know mean a lot to you, and applying your academics that you've been learning as well?
Yeah. So for me, I'm very based in my values, or I like to believe that I am. I've always loved helping others. Agriculture is something that is such beautiful craftsmanship that basically anyone who chooses to go into agriculture chooses it because of the love and the values behind it. And I think a lot of that aligns with me. I absolutely loved every single person I've met in agriculture because they wear their heart on their sleeves and they're some of the most genuine people. I mean, if you think about it, you learn so many great values and such a strong work ethic from being in agriculture. If you have livestock, these animals quite literally rely on you, feeding them at 6 a.m., making sure that their pens are clean, literally everything. And it's such a big responsibility to have. So it really improves your work ethic because you need to be there at 6 a.m. because if not, they're going to be hungry. If that's their usual feeding time, they're going to be very cranky as well. Don't ever sleep in. Same thing with crops and plants. They need water. They were getting it from irrigation.
Yeah.
So making sure that these crops actually got it, that's also just such a big responsibility. And it's a laborious process. You're standing in that California 100+ degree heat, but the people who choose to do this have some of the best work ethics I've ever seen. So being involved in agriculture teaches you such important values that I hope to carry on into my career. I want to continue to work hard and be responsible for important things and obviously make a positive impact in the world. Next year, I'll be returning back to Stanford University, where I'll be completing my coterminal Master's of Science degree in Sustainable Science and Practice. I'm so excited because I feel like the sustainability coterm is very interdisciplinary. So you have everyone from lots of different backgrounds. I hope in the future to be some sort of sustainable agricultural engineer. I definitely want to be involved in the sustainable agricultural space and leverage my MS&E skill set, which is why I think a career as a sustainable agricultural engineer probably makes the most sense for me. I want to be able to optimize our food system production and ensure that we're feeding the population as efficiently as possible with the least amount of CO2 emissions. So I'm really excited to learn how to take on that challenge next year in my co-term and hopefully in a few years be able to actually start.
Lauryn, this has been so much fun. Your energy is always so infectious. When you come into the office, it's this total whirlwind. Your energy always lifts us up and we always feel better after a visit from you in the office. I am going to make a segue now into the final 3 questions that I always ask everyone. So the first one is, what advice do you have for someone coming into the MS&E bachelor's program that maybe they haven't heard already from someone else?
I actually have 3 little tidbits of advice that I've been saving just for this moment. My very first piece of advice, which I think was so helpful when I was trying to figure out if I was going to do MS&E or IR or whatever it might have been, was just by taking classes. Step into the water and see if you even like it. My second piece of advice is try to connect with upperclassmen and alumni. I feel like as an underclassman, I didn't really have access to many MS&E majors, but looking back on it, I'm sure if you asked one of your RAs, either one of them is going to be an MS&E major or they're going to know someone who is and can connect you with that person. If not, the MS&E community is so welcoming. And additionally, as I mentioned, our alumni, Stanford Alumni Mentorship, we're mentoring Sam. Great resource. These are people who choose to sign up because they want to network and advise and mentor others.
Yes.
You don't just choose to make an account unless you're going to actually go through with it. So reach out to past MS&E majors, hear about the department, and if it seems like it's a right fit for you and your future career goals. My last piece of advice is, sorry, Lindsay, I'm probably going to add a lot to your plate right now, but connect with Lindsay, please. She has appointments, so you can make individual appointments with her. My very first appointment with Lindsay was beginning of senior year. I think looking back on it, if I could have started meeting with you like my sophomore year, junior year, I would just be a much happier person. Lindsay's just so knowledgeable about everything with careers. So schedule time with her. Also take advantage of the workshops. She brings in such a great alum. So another networking opportunity right there. But she brings such great alum who are willing to give back to the community. I know I went to a resume workshop earlier this year, and I actually was able to fine tune my resume to apply to my co-term. So like super helpful. Obviously I got in and I would like to say that had something to do with it. And I guess
we are lucky to have such amazing alumni
Yes.
who like to come back and do that.
Oh, I agree. And they're always so enthusiastic. It's so much fun. And I guess kind of building off of that is make sure you read Lindsay's emails, newsletters. She put so much time and effort into them. So it's really important to appreciate them. But there's also such valuable content within that. How to impress your boss in your internship, or at the end, how to say thank you properly, or even the small things that you don't think about. So just so much great information are in those emails. Like I literally forward them to my own personal emails so that in case they like get rid of my Stanford account when I graduate, I can still have them. We also have career ed on campus. I do.
We're excellent as well.
Yes, absolutely excellent. I work the front desk there, so I have to, give them a shout out as well, but also great resources as well. Take advantage of the career resources on campus. And yeah, I think those are my 3 pieces of advice. If you're a freshman or sophomore listening to this and don't know who to talk to, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk about MS&E any day of the week, as well as agriculture. So feel free to reach out.
And so then your life maxim, this kind of
Yeah.
signature phrase mantra that you have.
My life's mission statement, I guess my motto, is to leave this world a better place than how I found it. This has always been my mission statement. I've always wanted to help others and make a positive impact in the world. So yeah, just trying to find little ways to improve the world. And I always love to put a smile on people's face. I think that's always been another lifelong motto of mine. You never know what anyone's ever going through. And it's really important to give kindness to others. So I love just making sure when I leave a room that people got a chance to smile or make sure they get a compliment and just feel good about themselves, because everyone deserves to feel good.
I love that. You are so much the embodiment already of both of those things. And then finally, 2 books and another media. So 2 books that everybody should read, one of them MS&E related and the other one complete free choice just for fun. And then a favorite media of any other type.
Yeah. So a good book, Blue Ocean Strategy. Great book. It talks about finding untapped market spaces and optimizing on that, because you essentially take out the competition, because there is no competition. It's an untapped market. Another book that I've been reading that I'm really enjoying is Leverage Points by Donella Meadows. Absolutely incredible. If you're interested in systems thinking about how to make impactful change, or if you have like a system and you're trying to figure out where to intervene to start changing the paradigm, this book is for you. It's absolutely fantastic. And then in terms of other media, I do love a good podcast. Please listen to the MS&E podcast. That's great. I do. But some other podcasts that are really good are the STVP ones. Those are great if you're an entrepreneur and you just want to learn more about entrepreneurship. Highly recommend. They are packed with such great information, and truly it's people like professors will come in. I think they'll have guest speakers sometimes, and you just learn so much from it. And finally, I enjoy the Mel Robbins podcast. It's some self-care stuff, but also just like changing your mindset. So I really enjoy learning how your mind plays such an important role in how you view the world and how your actions are, and like the change you make is really grounding.
Lauryn, thank you again so much. And again, congratulations on your commencement this past Sunday and the senior project win. We are so proud of all of you. So it's been really fun talking with you today.
Thank you, Lindsay, for having me. I'm so thankful that we were able to chat today, and I'm looking forward to our future chats as well.
Absolutely. We will be keeping in touch.
Thank you for listening to this episode of MS&E Stories and Voices, Graduating Student Profiles. This episode was produced and edited by me, Lindsay Aiken, with editing support and post-production from Jim Fabry. Our music was composed and performed by Catherine Barron, MS&E Masters Class of 2023. Please be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify or whichever platform you're listening on, and check out our website at msne.stanford.edu. That's msande.stanford.edu. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.